Welcome to the Wally Show Aftercast, all the stuff we did not get to during the course of the show today. So I'm back. Before I left, there was kind of sadly, a scandal that was breaking inside of Christian music. And I purposely stayed out of it. People were asking me, hey, are you going to comment on this? And it centers around Michael Tate and the Newsboys and him having a moral failure and even some drug use and stuff. And I had stayed out of it because not all the facts are in the beginning. And a lot of times you comment on things and then things either get worse or they're not what were reported. And so I just kind of stayed out of it because most people probably didn't even know what had happened and what had gone on. And I'm like, I don't want to pour water or gas on this fire and then have people that are like, oh, I had no idea what was going on. Oh, now I'm going to go see this. And now you get drug into this scandal. But then all of a sudden it broke and it made it onto Good Morning America and bigger things like that. And I still wasn't in I'm going to comment about, Michael Tate on this because the guy messed up. He did some bad things. He's trying to own it. That's between him and God. He's got to figure that stuff out. And I'm not someone that walks away from people who make mistakes because the reality is, every Christian artist, every Christian radio host has sin in their life. None of us have the right to do any of this stuff. None of us are without blame. We're just fortunate enough to be able to. And then some people have different areas that they're broken in and that other people maybe don't struggle in. And so I really, again, had kind of stayed out of this. And so after the scandal broke, the whole Christian music industry, though, was put on blast. Online and in socials, people were like, oh, they're all hypocrites and it's filled with fallen people. And yeah, it's filled with fallen people. That's true. But not everybody is a massive hypocrite. Christian musicians are imperfect. They're fallible people. And these moral failures are not widespread or rampant like they want you to believe. And I think that's what's important. I've seen more people in the Christian music industry talking about that and less about the specifics of what got us here. Because when this stuff happens, people want, people to respond. And one of my favorite people in this business is Darren Mulligan from We Are Messengers. And I love how he addressed this and why he says he waited to comment on this.
I'm tired of people like me who have platforms having a thought and then jumping on here like we're some kind of wizards and what we have is so valuable for the whole universe to hear. Sometimes our thoughts are just for ourselves to be shared with God himself. I will say my heart breaks for everyone who's been hurt. And yes, it's deplorable indeed. I do want to encourage you to remember that the Christian music industry has some of the most incredible human beings, men and women, of mighty character, men and women who love the lost, the lonely, the least, and the hurting.
And he's right about that. When I got here from mainstream radio, I expected to encounter a lot of hypocrisy. I have a friend of mine that worked in mainstream radio, signed some huge bands, and when he heard that I was going to Christian radio, he was like, oh, that's horrible. That industry is just filled with hypocrites and horrible people. And I'm like, that wasn't my experience. I got here and I watched a lot of bands, especially young bands, that were slaving away on the road, making no money, being away from their families to share the gospel, And not everybody that's in this industry makes big money. You have your top 10, in regular radio or regular music that make good money, and they should. They're creating a product that people consume. And if you like it, you pay for it. If you don't, you don't. But there's the vast majority of people who are making a meager living, but they are gone and they are sharing the gospel. I think you would agree with that too, Rock. You've been in this as long as I have, 18 years with me, and you know these people.
Yeah, and I think the trouble comes from when we put sinful humans, because we're all sinful, but put them in a place where God is only meant to be, and then people can use the downfall of a Christian, then all Christianity is wrong. All of it is hypocrites. At some point, I have to say, no, your attention, your respect was put into the wrong place.
Okay.
Instead, it should have been put on God, because God is the only perfect
I'm glad
person.
You bring that up, because you zoned in on what Darren was talking about, and it's the big problem in the industry that can lead to people becoming disillusioned.
I'm amazed that we get so surprised when men and women do stupid things. We're all sinners in need of the mercy of God. Yes, we must be held to a higher account, those of us who have been given these platforms, absolutely. But don't be so surprised We have made heroes out of men. We have made celebrities out of people who God gave a little bit of talent to. And ultimately, we want you to see that Jesus is the hero of the story, not some very fallible, weak men and women who depend on the mercy of God. We want you to see that Jesus is the hero. He won't let you down. He's not like us. Pray for everyone who's been hurt. Pray for our industry. And may the mercy of God be rich in our community.
And he's dead right on that. And I love his honesty. Like, we had him on a few months ago, and we talked honestly about, like, he was like, I asked him a question about being a Christian artist and truly being as transparent as you can be. And I said, I love the fact that you talk about life from where you're at now, not like this aspirational, I was this, but then Jesus made me this, and now I've got it all figured out. That's where a lot of Christian music in the industry lives. And he's like, I am a guy, if you know his story, he had cheated on his wife. He had issues. They were able to save their marriage. It was still rocky. He's really honest about that. He's like, I'm a man that, I before Jesus struggled with pornography. After Jesus will struggle with pornography. It will be one of those things I have to be cognizant of and protect myself from. And I love that. You don't hear a lot of people saying that it's a current struggle, and that's why I think people resonate from him, because you feel the grace that he's experienced and wants to share with people, and you feel it in the way that he talks about his faith and how he understands the depth of God's forgiveness and grace and is honest about where he is. That's what we need more of. When these barbs come out and you want to indict an entire industry based on a few people's mess ups, that's a problem, because there are people like Darren that are doing it well. And I do think, too, and I really do believe this, people will use things like this as an excuse to not deal with God. Like, God is working on them. And God behind the scenes is like, he's always pursuing us. But what happens is these things happen and they go, see, I told you it was all garbage. It's all garbage. And so then they write it all off so that they don't have to deal with what God was dealing with them on, And so they're like, yeah, it's all hypocrites. And they somehow feel like they get a pass because they don't have to deal with God now because these people led them astray, or they don't have to follow this God of the hypocrite. And nothing could be farther from the truth. God's dealing with them on a personal level, because I've used it as an excuse too. When I've seen people fall, I know God was dealing with me, and I'm like, well, see, I don't have to do this now, because if they're like that, then I want nothing to do with that. And I spent a lot of years in that camp, but it doesn't change the fact that God deals with us each individually and is pursuing us each, and we are held accountable for what we do with Jesus, not what somebody else did with him, and not with what somebody else caused us to think about him. We are held responsible and accountable for who we say Jesus is and what we do with him. But I do agree that I think that there is a higher level of accountability for Christian artists, for Christian radio hosts, for people that have a platform where you're talking about Jesus every day. I do think that we have a higher standard that we maybe don't have to live up to, but should live up to, and like, there are things I could do in my personal life that don't necessarily go against the gospel or whatever, but could cause somebody else to stumble, and I stay away from them, because I don't want to be that next thing that causes somebody to write off Christianity because of me being a fallible human being, because I'm super fallible. And I have my good days and the days where I'm like making the right choices with God, and the days where I'm so far from it and making dumb decisions, and I am completely cognizant of how we as people are one bad decision away from train wrecking our lives, and especially in this industry where you live in the public eye, you are one bad decision away from being the Michael Tate or being the whoever or the whatever, and I take that very seriously, and I try not to throw barbs at people when that happens, when there is a fall, because I know I could do that too. I have the capacity in myself to mess up and sidetrack or derail my entire life if I make a bad decision in a bad moment, you know? And so that's why I'm real careful about that. I had a pastor once tell me, he said, when you hear someone from a pulpit yelling about something, he's like, watch, that is the thing that they probably struggle with in their life. The louder they are about something is probably the thing that they silently struggle with. And the irony of all ironies is we had been doing all these marriage seminars, and he was really going at, having a strong marriage and not being, of the world and keeping your marriage holy. And then he had a moral failure in his marriage. And I was like, dude, you were your own advice, you know, and if it can happen to you, it can certainly happen to me or any one of us. And so that's kind of my take on that. And so I wanted to address it because people were asking me about it, and that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. I don't think that we need to have this big dissertation on this multiple more times or what have you. But I would ask you that if you struggle in this area of watching what people do and get disillusioned and get frustrated, that you need to put your attention and your focus on the infallible instead of people, and don't use people as an excuse to avoid dealing with what God is dealing with you on. So there you go. That's a little bit of that. Some good news here. If you are looking to extend movies in your life, Gavin, you do not have A-list anymore, correct?
No, that was something we gave up before a kid, but yeah, just not the time for 3 movies a week.
I get it. But now AMC announced that they are redoing their Stubbs loyalty member discounts, and they're adding a day. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yes, I did see this.
You get 50% off of your adult evening tickets, which is great. And you will also, this is great because the head of AMC marketing or whatever is following the overwhelming positive guest response to our first announcement of 50% off Wednesday's ticket pricing, 2 things became clear. People want to save money on tickets, and second, those moviegoers want to seek value on concessions. You really had to do something to figure that out? No, everyone says you're too expensive in these 2 areas. Yeah. And no wonder people are going to go and want to save money on ticket prices and way overpriced popcorn, you know? Popcorn that costs you a nickel to make and you're charging $8 for. Yeah, it's you don't have to be
ridiculous.
Matlock to figure this out. You guys have just been greedy. So at least they're going to extend this through the summer. So if you want to save some money, go to the movies. Tuesdays and Wednesdays at AMC will be your days. Lady Rock, what do you got, girl?
Woo!
Energy drink, am I right?
Yeah, if you couldn't notice or you didn't notice anything about Wally, him talking a mile a minute, he's been drinking an energy drink.
Yeah, and the taste has gotten better. It's one of those Alani's that Gavin told me about, and I'm actually
I've also found out, too, that already you are a very dramatic, passionate person.
Sure, just like Darren from We Were Messengers without the accent.
And I would say the energy drink and the coffee make it even more.
It enhances that. It exacerbates it, or just, I like enhances better. Exacerbate has a negative connotation.
What do you feel if you're normally a 5? Let's say your energy level normally a 5. What is it on the coffee?
The coffee is one that I actually genuinely feel when I have my big Dunkin', I am so warm and happy inside, and I feel better, and things just don't bother me as much, and I'm I feel good. This is great. I would drink that every day if it wouldn't kill me, because
it probably would.
The sugar and the caffeine will put on weight, and it will kill me. So I've limited myself to one of those a week. But this energy drink is 0 calories, 0 points on my Weight Watchers, and it still has kind of a good effect too. So,
because it's more caffeine than a soda.
Yeah,
because it's
great.
Still
feels good.
I'm liking this version.
Yeah, I'm happier. When on the days when I have the coffee, you have to put up with me being but I'm less angry about stuff too. I'm
that's true.
Yeah, just happier.
Whatever it takes to get in the zone.
That's it. I'm in the zone.
Good moral way.
That's it. Good moral way. Thank you, Gavin.
I don't know.
What do you got, Rock?
Okay, so I have an interesting story I want to get your take on. This was on Reddit recently.
Sounds different.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know
it's on
the rule
Reddit.
of 3.
No, I won't do it 3 times. I promise I'm not even going to do the rule of 3. Go ahead.
A time constraint.
Yep. Reddit.
No, keep going.
Then I'll take my time.
No.
we did.
Okay, so on Reddit, there is a woman who posted a story and wanted to get people's feedback on it. And it was called Weight Watchers Table.
Oh.
So what happened was she was at her sister's wedding. She was in the wedding as a bridesmaid. And at the reception, she was sat at a table, not with the family, not with the other bridesmaids, but at a table that was labeled Weight Watchers.
No, it was
Now,
labeled that?
according to this
for the
post
specific
that
food
she
they needed to
did,
eat.
according to this post that she posted, every table had like a name to it.
Okay.
But this one, she said there was nothing harmful about the other table labels except for this one. She ended up at this table and then she realized everyone sitting with her was also overweight.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
And so
tough.
she's like, wait a minute, my sister just put me at a table with a bunch of people that are also overweight as me and calling it Weight Watchers. So she goes to her during the reception and she's like, did you mean to do this? Her sister laughed and she's like, why are you being so sensitive about this? I wanted you to not feel, I didn't want all of you people to feel awkward or weird. It's a more body positive thing. So you're around people that are like you.
Oh, no.
So she ended up, the girl that was hurt, okay, the sister that was hurt, she ended up grabbing her stuff and leaving the reception.
That
okay,
is
which makes a
crazy.
statement in
Just the
itself.
reception.
The dad immediately calls and he's like, can you just look past it? Like, I'm sorry, like all this stuff. And then her mom calls her and she's like, nope, too late. I'm already back at home in my pajamas. Like,
Love
I'm
it.
done.
Love it.
So anyways, this was only posted a week ago. So we don't have any updates on whether or not the sister has apologized because she's on her honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that she's in the wrong?
I very rarely get offended by stuff. No, I don't. I'm not like I like things that everyone tends to be offended by. I'm like, it's not a big deal. Like, don't worry about it.
Oh, but things that people are like, don't worry about it. You're like, no.
Yeah, exactly. If it's stuff I agree with. No, like things that seem politically correct, like I don't get offended by that stuff. Like, oh, you're triggering me or whatever. I kind of make fun of that stuff. This one here, I'm like, who in their right mind? I would not even to call it Weight Watchers. You might as well call the other one like Hot Friend Table, you know, and then Weight Watcher like Overweight Disgusting People Table. I mean, that's what you're calling
Well, I'm
it.
wondering because I was thinking to myself, what are the other labels she could have put on other tables? It could have been a singles table because she wanted to try and hook
Right.
up her other friends, like
Right.
them to find true love.
And that one could be seen as offensive by someone that's single.
It could be.
Right.
It also could be that she wanted like a senior citizens table so that they could all be around people that
Right.
are like them. I don't know, but I would say I would have called it
I
something.
wouldn't have called it anything. That's the problem.
I would have, yeah, or I wouldn't have had that table at all. I would have taken the people that might have been at the Weight Watchers table and put them at a different table. I would not have had it. But for her sister that was getting married to say you're being sensitive
Yeah.
is crazy.
And I'm the bride, and you can't say
And
anything on my
you
day.
asked your sister to spend a ton of money to be a bridesmaid in your wedding. She had to wear Spanx the whole time.
yeah.
That's what she said. In
Oh,
her
okay, I'm
post.
like, you're making a
No,
leap.
no. She put that in the post. She was like, I suffered. I spent this amount of money being a bridesmaid in my own sister's wedding. I paid for so much. I did so much for her.
Yeah.
And this is what I get in return.
This is, I think that's like super out of bounds. Like, because everybody, like, and again, people are like, oh, you're body shaming or fat shaming or I want you to be body positive. Like those terms and stuff. I'm like, a lot of times when I hear them. But this is one that I fully agree that like completely crosses the line to be like, oh, I didn't want you to feel upset. No, you didn't want these people mixed in with your beautiful people photos in your thing. Because I've seen brides. There was one bride that had like a weight limit for people in her wedding party, and one of the girls had gained some weight, and she kicked her out of the wedding party because she was so concerned about how her pictures would look.
Now, Gavin,
Just kidding.
how would you approach this situation?
Like if I was the overweight person,
Is it different for a guy?
yeah, I would see Weight Watchers. I'd be like, do you mean like is this just for food that's gonna be easier for me if I was losing weight to eat?
Yeah.
I probably would be a little like, oh, That's a little mean.
I would have been like, hey, real quick, I want to do a toast. And I would have said something like out loud. I would have called it out loud.
I would definitely have not been afraid to approach them. The bride and the
And what if
groom.
they told you you're being too sensitive? Then what?
I'd be done.
I'd be gone.
Yeah, 100%.
I wouldn't need to publicly fight or argue, but I could leave. Me being gone from your reception does not impact your night. So why should I? Me being there does not impact your night. I'll just go.
And I believe families are people, and like you don't pick them. And so like if your family does something dumb, I have no compulsion whatsoever to be like, oh, it's family. I got to stay and put up with this. If I wouldn't put up with it from a friend, I'm certainly not going to put up with it from my family. I can do damage control later, but like I would be very gone.
Especially because at the end of the day, just they could have done non-labeled tables too. You still could have gotten to that table and been like, I see the people that are at this table.
Speaking as a girl who is single, to me, the main thing is that she doesn't want to be, maybe this is something that she knows she needs to work on. Maybe she realizes that she's overweight and she's probably mentioned it to her sister and she wants to work on it. Okay, more power to you. But I don't think you want someone else to call it out and then put it on display for everyone else to see. I feel that way when it comes to weddings and they're like, all right, all the single ladies come out here. I will leave before that even happens.
I get that.
And I started doing that in my 20s.
I get that.
Because it's just super awkward. And I wish they wouldn't do that. It's terrible. But it's kind of the same thing where it's like, all right, now I feel like there is a label on top of my head and everyone's looking at me differently and judging me.
Because they don't do that to the. Well, I guess they do it to the guys too.
Yeah, they do too. Yeah,
so it's,
but for guys, it's just different. I don't know.
Yeah,
for
you
girls,
walk out and it's a bachelor. Woo, woo,
right? Right. There's more. You can take pride in it. Whereas for women, I feel like other women that are married look. And I could be wrong. Look down on single women, and they're like, "Oh, you haven't found your true purpose in life. What's wrong with you? What's broken in you? Oh, how do you sleep at night?"
Yeah, I could see exactly where you would do that. Like Haley didn't do like the throw the bouquet single thing, which I was really happy with. Yeah, I was glad she didn't do that.
Good call.
There were things too that I was really on her about during the planning of everything to not be considered a bridezilla kind of thing. I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't do that. It's a bad look. And I would tell her things that I'm like, I don't think that that's good at all. Because the last thing I wanted her to do is come off as that bride that's entitled or whatever, or it's all about me. Like I hate that mentality of weddings that this is my day and it's all about me. It's just so self-absorbed that I don't think it's all about you. I think it's about you and your husband, that your needs as what you want for your wedding should come first. But like when it starts offending other people, and like people that you love and care about you, then that's just lunacy,
I agree.
Yeah. Do you got any birthdays?
I don't have any birthdays, but would you like a question or do you want to get out?
Not today. We have a meeting that we got to go
Wally
prep
hates all the potties.
I do not.
That's why.
I do not.
Hey, word to the wise. If you're not part of our potty group, you should be. Text potty, PODDIE, to 91979, and we will send you a link. But it is a group on Facebook that we keep updated with the behind-the-scenes stuff. Like recently, we had someone who had an amateur first responder moment themselves. And Wally had to give his 2 cents on the situation.
Yeah, we sent him a little video. It was funny.
It's amazing how you can take something so simple and make it super complicated.
It's a gift.
It really is. It's a gift. For sure.
Yeah, take something to the most absurd level.
Right, exactly. But if you want to be a part of that, it's easy. Text PODDIE, potty, to 91979, and we will send you a link.
All right, and that's going to do it for your Aftercast for today, and thanks for being a PODDIE.
Growing up in poverty has never been easy for children, but with the added challenges of the pandemic, conflict, and natural disasters, families around the world are facing an unprecedented food crisis. Unfortunately, those who are already hungry are now even more desperate. But by sponsoring a child through compassion, you can help provide life-sustaining essentials such as food and clean water. And with your compassionate support, that child can not only survive, but also flourish. You can find out how and choose a child to sponsor when you click on the compassion banner at wayfm.com.